Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on how Marxists understand and fight oppression. Special oppression is defined as any kind of systemic oppression that is based on something other than class. Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and ableism are all examples of special oppression. However, class still plays a role in the way people experience special oppression. For example, someone who is seeking an abortion in a place where it's illegal will have a much harder time getting one if they don't have the time or money to travel. Contrary to popular belief, bigotry did not arise naturally due to any innate aspect of human nature. Its introduction was a deliberate and top-down effort by the ruling classes of the time. Most forms of special oppression that exist today were present in previous iterations of class society in some form or another. Usually, these forms of oppression started out as laws that explicitly limited certain people's autonomy or punished their very existence. All forms of oppression that have existed in the history of class society were ultimately for the purpose of maintaining the status quo in their respective eras. Suffering under capitalism is inevitable. Nobody would agree to work under the conditions put forth by the bourgeoisie were it not for the tangible threat of starvation and homelessness if they refuse. If the cause of, and by extension the solution to, this suffering were widely understood, capitalism would likely have been crushed within a decade of its inception. Like its predecessors, the survival of capitalism is dependent on an ideological framework that justifies its existence. As part of this framework, one of the functions of bigotry is to provide a scapegoat for the suffering of the people experience under capitalism. When politicians describe immigrants as foreign invaders coming to take American jobs, they are wielding the very real precarity that people face and are redirecting it to members of the working class and away from those who are actually responsible for these conditions. The same thing happens when Black people are stereotyped as being drains on the economy. By blaming people who are the victims of the same system, the bourgeoisie not only shift the focus away from themselves, but also create hostility between people with the same material interest in fighting against this system. Somebody who believes that marginalized people are their enemy is not going to be open to unionizing alongside them. By branding certain people as lazy, stupid, or inherently less capable than others, capitalists are able to access cheap labor without facing as much public scrutiny as they otherwise would. For example, according to Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act, it is completely legal for capitalists to pay disabled people less than minimum wage for their labor, as long as they get a certificate from the Wage and Hour Division of the U.S. Department of Labor. Additionally, incarcerated people who, due to racing policing, due to racist policing policies, are more likely to be people of color, are paid abysmally low rates for their labor. The exact hourly rate for prison labor varies, but even those whose pay is on the higher end of the spectrum will still make below federal minimum wage. In 5 states, it is legal for prisoners to be paid nothing at all. Bigotry gives an ideological excuse for these practices, since it allows employers to claim that the people they are exploiting deserve it. Sexism, homophobia, and transphobia all play a role in maintaining the system of social reproduction by upholding the primacy of the nuclear family. Sexist ideology claims that women are naturally inclined towards domestic labor and child rearing, while homophobia and transphobia punish those who deviate from the heteronormative standard. While work by feminist and queer rights activists have loosened restrictions on who is allowed in this paradigm, the traditional notion of the nuclear family is still seen as the default mode of existence. Some people on the left believe that fighting special oppression is a waste of time because they believe that since a post-capitalist world will have no reason to uphold these systems, special oppression will naturally dissipate once class is abolished. This ignores the previously covered ways that the existence of special oppression serves as a barrier to making gains for the working class. Ultimately, it is impossible to overthrow capitalism without tackling special oppression. Because of this, any attack against the systems of oppression ultimately benefits the working class as a whole, including workers who are not specially oppressed. The special oppression we see today is much more covert than it was in the past, with explicit bigotry being replaced by coded language. Laws and policies that disproportionately harm marginalized people are given a veneer of impartiality. Understanding how systems like the prison industrial complex and immigration customs enforcement work to undermine the rights of specially oppressed people is essential to creating a more equitable society. Just like how you cannot fight capitalism without fighting oppression, you also cannot fight oppression without fighting capitalism. Any organization that claims to be interested in fighting oppression but does not fight against capitalism is at best a temporary ally. While some reforms are important for weakening the chains of special oppression, the only thing that will break them is a victory against the entire system of class rule. Thank you.